So wine is different. It's so much more than just fermenting grapes. Wine is a craft, and it's a craft that takes time to learn and even more time to master. Just think about a chef, they cook every night. A winemaker gets to make wine once a year. It's a passion-driven craft that becomes a labor of love. Wine is different. A grocery store in the United States has on average 1,000 different wines. 1,000. Think about the options when you're buying tomato paste. 3, 4? Olive oil, 15, 20, depending on how snobby your neighborhood supermarket is. But wine is 1,000. That's no other product that we buy at the supermarket has that many options, and the options are a consequence of the nuances of the wine. And the nuances are given to the wine by the people that make the wine, but more importantly, by the conditions in which the grapes grow. The Washington Wine Commission calls Washington State the perfect climate for wine. And that's so true. And it's not only the climate and the soil and that combination, it's also the conditions, the overall conditions in which we grow our grapes. I've been lucky enough to make wine in 9 different regions around the world. And if I were to put all my friends together and ask them from all these 9 different places, what will be the perfect conditions for you to grow your grapes? They will come up with something that looks exactly like the east side of the Cascades here in Washington. It's the perfect climate for wine. That lasts for sunny days. We got 300 days of cloud-free skies last year. That lasts for warm days and cool nights. And we got 78 on Thursday, and then it was 39 the same day. They will ask for a hot summer and a cold winter that will temper with pests and disease that might just mess up your vines. And I don't have to tell you about harsh winters. I've driven around Spokane in December. It's not pretty. But it's not only the conditions, it's also the timing. We get 7 inches of rainfall in the Columbia Valley, and a vine needs about 20 to 25 to survive. So more than 2/3 of the water that the vine needs through the growing season, we take it from the Columbia River and we give it to the vines. That gives us a tremendous amount of control over how much water we give the vine, the timing, and more importantly, when we deprive the vines from water to get them under stress. And you're thinking, why would you put a vine under stress? Let's think like a vine for a second. So your goal for the season is to ripen the seed. We surround the seed with a beautiful berry that is colorful and flavorful and very aromatic. An animal comes in, eats the grape, takes the seed somewhere else. You propagate the species. That's your goal. So when you get under any type of stress, it's too hot, it's too cold, it's too windy, there is not enough nutrients, or you don't have enough water, you focus all your energy onto the cluster. That's your goal. You want to make that cluster really, really attractive for an animal to come in and eat it. In this case, that's me. That ability to put the vines under stress and to control the canopy, the green part of the vine, the architecture of it, how we expose the clusters, how big the clusters are, it's unique to Washington. And I think that's spinal to making Washington probably the most exciting wine region in the world today. Now, we make great wines, and you don't have to take my word for it, because wine is very subjective. What's great to me might not be so great to you, and vice versa. But there's things that we can lean on to figure out if our wines can stand shoulder to shoulder with the best wines around the world. There's an array of critics and wine publications, and many of them have different ways to celebrate the wines that they love. They will pick a wine of the year, and we've had a wine of the year in Washington. They will pick the wine region of the year, and we've been wine region of the year several times. They will pick the winery of the year. You get the idea. Many of them will use a 100-point scale to score these wines, where 0 is don't even buy it, and 100 is the opposite. It's the perfect wine, which is a very rare occurrence. And we've had several 100-point wines made here in Washington State. That 100-point scale also has a top 10% that is a very small amount of wines that actually make it from 90 to 100. And a 90-plus wine, it's the critic telling you, as the consumer, this is going to deliver a wonderful experience. So that's what you want to do. But a very small amount of wines actually get 90 points or more. If you were able to bring all the wines in the world that are sent to scoring publications, and you were to look at the percentage of those wines that actually get 90 or more, you'll find out that the wine region around the world with the highest percentage of 90 plus It's Washington State, like 47%. It's crazy. And it's crazy because we've been making wine for a couple of generations, and there's wine regions around the world that have been making wine for hundreds of years. And what's more interesting is that you will have to spend at least $10 or $15 less on average to get a bottle of wine from Washington that score 90 or more than any other wine region around the world. So by now, I probably have made my case about how great the grapes are and how the wines are very well received. But how about the impact that the wine industry has in a community? Well, there is the economic impact. And the Washington wine industry has about $9 billion of economic impact in Washington State annually. There's the 70,000 jobs that we create nationwide. There's, of course, the 2.1 million tourists that come to wine country to visit us every year. And the shops and hotels and restaurants in which they spend $1.1 billion every year. And an industry of this size will require qualified labor, triggering the need for higher education. Washington State University is about to be done building the Wine Science Center in the Tri-Cities campus in Richland, Washington. When that center is done, this will become the most technologically advanced wine research center in the world, in Richland, Washington. And that will probably bring a lot of students and researchers and then family to our community, enriching our experience in one country. So there's the economic impact, and there's the cultural impact of the families that are moving to Washington to learn about wine and the families that are moving to Washington to work for the wine industry. But there's a hidden impact that's very dear to my heart. As wine growers, we shape the landscape of the place where we live. Where there used to be brown sagebrush, there's now rolling hills of green vineyards, dotted with beautiful wineries. Think about Red Mountain in Benton City. This passion-driven business make us become stewards of the land. We want to take care of the land because that's our livelihood. And more importantly, I want my kids and their kids to be able to make wines in Washington under the same pristine conditions that I'm lucky enough to make wines. And so as we pass this passion to the next generation, we're giving them a good reason to stay in rural Washington. We're giving our scientists a reason to be curious here in wine country in Washington. We're giving our artists a way to express their artistic sense. We're giving entrepreneurs and chefs and a reason to stay in rural Washington, enhancing the beautiful community that we live in, and having a glass of wine while we're doing it. So next time you're faced with the option of having wine, think about Washington State, and then sit back, relax, and let Washington wine enhance your life. Thank you very much.